because of the popularity of my Thunderhammer build coin, I wanted to do something special for my second whipsaw iteration. So let's make a 3D printed replica out of metal with copper, silver and 24 karat gold. But let's start from the beginning. I only ever used an FDM printer before, and to tell you the truth, I'm not a huge fan. It takes too long to print for quick changes while prototyping, and the finish isn't good enough to use it for anything other than workshop utilities. And ever since having a decent laser cutter, I honestly haven't used the FDM printer at all. Then Elegoo offered me to try one of their resin printers for a video. I've seen people print Warhammer figurines, so I thought might as well give it a try. Everything arrived on November 30th. Here's another cat for scale. Yes, I said November. At this point, I gotta add that Elegoo has to be my most patient sponsor I've ever had. So jumping forward to 25th of April this year, and I'm finally trying out the printer for the first time. The plan is to make a downscaled replica of the sword and electroplate it. More on that in a minute. Time for a test print.
Haha, es hat funktioniert. Oh boy, I feel like I'm going to start liking 3D printing.
Great success. Easy project, time to make more, sell them, retire as a billionaire. Only thing left is to make a 3D model of the sword. But with AI-powered 3D scanning apps, this shouldn't be a problem, right? Take a few photos, wait a couple minutes, and voila. Okay, maybe my setup wasn't as good as I thought it was. Let's try it again with a blank background and rotating the piece instead of myself.
Come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Okay, so this doesn't seem so straightforward after all. I bit the bullet and had to look at different 3D modeling and CAD softwares and decided to go with 3D Shaper. Both because it looks a bit more beginner friendly, as well as having a price tag that's only expensive and not generational debt. Fast forward about 16 hours inside 3D Shaper and here we are. Obviously not perfect, but for my first attempt outside of Tinkercad, I'm pretty happy with the result. Now after a failed print using Cheetobox and one cleaning cycle, I went back to Lychee, from which I did the power sort before.
First print with the Lychee profile again, let's see how it looks. Ooh! Now that is pretty cool. Let's try and get it out there.
As I said, Elegoo is sponsoring this video and they have provided me with their Mercury XS bundle, wash and curing station, as well as the Satin 4 Ultra. Not to spoil anything yet, but as a first time resin printer, I've been very happy with the product. Didn't have any technical issues during this project, but I obviously can't make any comparisons to other resin printers. But as a beginner, I feel like the Satin 4 Ultra made it really easy for me to get into the subject of resin printing. So if you're in the market for a 3D printer, check out Elegoo, links are in the description. And thanks again to Elegoo for sponsoring this video. Edgar!
Okay, now this is just cool.
This print is 20% of the original size, but since the Satin 4 Ultra has a print height of up to 22 centimeters, I could scale the model up to 26 centimeters because it's tilted, which is exactly 1/4 of the original sword, and I much preferred this look.
So here we are after just 5 minutes of cleanup. Gotta say I'm very happy with the result. You can see all of the intricate little details are still on there. Very little cleanup work to do, and I think that still comes out amazing. Only thing I have to do is change up the supports a little bit so that it's easier to get the supports removed, just making batch production for that a little bit easier. Got everything done in roughly 10 hours. This is awesome. Oh my god. I don't think I need to invest any more time. This was a very expensive mistake. So it almost looks like the raft layer was printed twice. You can also see that the bottom of the pommel sits flush with the build plate. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens with maybe rushing the first batch a little bit. You know, I scaled up to 25% and then made the batch from that. So there wasn't a finished test print for that file. So yeah, my mistake, I guess. I'll also just print 10 of them because I want to space them out a little bit more. The raft grew into each other, which made getting it off the build plate very difficult, and I want all of them separate. So it's easier to snap off the supports. I'll have to do another print, I guess. Okay, batch number 2. This time I'm a little bit smarter, as you can clearly tell.
Yeah, okay, I don't see any weird issues like the last time. Looking good. We're back in business.
Now onto electroplating. I won't act like I fully understand what's happening here, so let's put it simply. Sword hooked up to negative, copper sheets hooked up to positive. Everything is bathing in a copper solution, the copper electrons are transferred from the solution onto the sword, and the copper sheets replenish the copper electrons of the solution, so it doesn't deplete. Since resin isn't conductive, I first have to apply a layer of copper conductive paint. Now put it in the solution, apply a current, wait 4 hours, and you've got 0.2 millimeters of copper covering the whole surface. Now this copper layer will both be the base layer for the next steps, as well as providing much needed stability to the print.
And it looks so cool. Oh my. Ah, no! It didn't coat all the way. So, yeah. And you can also tell, because the surface finish wasn't as good, isn't very shiny or smooth, so
Okay, today I spent some time trying to fix my airbrush technique, because I think a lot of the problems caused came from airbrushing. I sprayed over the pieces again, tried some different pressures, some different distances to see whether I can get a shiny finish right off the airbrush. One piece that turned out pretty nice, I electroplated again, second attempt. Look at this. This came out so much nicer. I love how this turned out. This looks really, really great right out of the bath. Just for comparison, I mean, look at the difference. This right here is what I took off. So it's a pretty thick copper layer, I think. So I increased the amperage on this to 0.9, and I think it turned out really great. So next up, put a silver layer on here.
The silver electrolyte is a lot more expensive, so I'll use a Galvo brush this time. It uses a graphite anode, which means the solution won't be replenished and depletes during use. This solution contains 30 grams of silver per liter, so it creates a very thin layer of genuine silver. And now for the 24 karat gold plating, that's even more expensive, I'll be using a Galvo pen. This one's a little bit more precise for all these small details, and the solution contains 8 grams of gold per liter.
I think it's a very subtle difference, but I really like how the 24 karat gold plated one looks.
And last minute I've decided to make a little stand for the sword and paint the handle with the same green acrylic paint as the original. And here's the result. I'll try to do some improvements to reduce the layer lines towards the tip, as well as the grainy surface around the crossguard. I'll also thicken the connection of the sword mold pin to make it less likely to snap off. But I don't want to promise anything I haven't tried yet, so if you're happy with the replica in its current state, it's available now for pre-order, which will stay up until I'm done with the Whipsword series in about a month or two. Everyone will get the same improved replica, but the pre-order helps me to gauge how much interest there is and whether I should invest in a better electroplating setup. You can find the pre-order as well as the 3D print files on my website. Thanks for your support, and I'll catch you in the next one.